Hey boys, I hope you're all doing good. So, last leg of your preparation for CA intern. We have close to about 20 days more pending, and I think this is a good time for me to come forward to you and tell you some tips and tricks for your CA intern exams. I'm more focusing on my subject, which is your direct taxes. So, let me give you some insider information on how you should be preparing for direct taxes for the next 20 days. While yes, you do have to pay attention to all your other subjects, my focus here is to come and tell you what topics are important for you to do and what topics you should be focused upon for you to get your exemption in your CA intern direct taxes. Now, while other faculties may call this as ABC analysis and everything, I'm not really getting into those kind of things. ABC analysis would mean that I would have to categorize every chapter for you. As much as we are in the last leg of the syllabus, I don't think categorizing every chapter and making it important is the way to go. We are now focusing on more of other things as to what we call as focus topics. Yes, looking into those topics which are extremely important for you to prepare for your exams and go. And that's what will come for your exams 99% of the cases. Yes, so I'm trying to do a bit of a selective study for you, but again, it's all about creating that importance for those chapters so that you understand the significance of it. Now, this whole discussion is happening based on analysis of the previous papers, the May 25 paper and the September 25, especially the September 25 paper because of the sorry, because of the complications which came up in the paper. We just recently have released ICI has just recently released the suggested answers as well. Therefore, if you have not tried the September paper, you should definitely try it from your end. Very beautiful paper designed by ICI to come and tell you what kind of standards they expect from all your CA inter students. Yes, but anyway, keeping that in mind, let's get into the paper pattern, people. Let's understand how first the syllabus pattern will look like from an exam perspective. What exactly should you be focusing on from your exam perspective? As you know, direct tax paper is going to be scored for about 50 marks, and so therefore 50 marks per paper, you're going to have 30% of MCQs inside it, and then balance 35% will be your written paper. Yes, so 15 marks of MCQ and descriptive of 35 marks. As much as I understand from September syllabus, IC has taken a slight turn for how you describe your MCQs. Now IC is planning to give you two case study questions. IC is planning to give you two case study questions. Now I don't have to explain you what case study questions is. This is basically a set of story given to you along with some 3 or 4 questions inside it. Yes. So as per my recent understanding, what is happening is IC is giving you two case study questions along with the balance questions being 1 mark questions or 2 mark questions. Yes. Now it is not clearly defined as to how your case studies will look like. It is not come and told that every question in the case study will carry 1 mark or 2 mark. But on an assumption, let's go with saying that every question will be carrying 2 marks and each case study will have 3 to 4 questions. Balance is what you're looking at your individual questions which may carry 1 marks respectively. Yes. Now, as an order of priority, when you write your paper, people, one recommendation which I always come and tell everyone: never, never, never start with your case study question. Never do that because the case study question is designed in such a way which will eat up a lot of time, right? And so these kind of questions are not questions which you attempt in the first go. Do not do that. Please avoid doing case study questions. Keep it for the last one leg of R. Yes, and this is equally true for IDT also. When you're doing both the papers, you're going to have 4 case studies for you people. Spending time on case studies would eat up all the time which you will have for your written papers, and therefore keep it for the last 1 hour. Yes, in the last 1 hour, when you hear the bell and they say you have 1 more hour pending, that is the time when you start doing your case study questions to see how much you can score out of it, because the pressure is already building on you at that time. Yes, so look at your case study questions at that point of time. Balance MCQ questions, if you are looking at the questions and it looks like something which you are able to manage, take time and complete it off. That's okay. Yes, you can start your paper with that boost of confidence that yes, you got your MCQ questions properly and therefore you can do that as well. So in order of priority, I would say yes, you can try off your balance individual questions, but do not try your case studies as we start. Let's shift gears. Let's come to the descriptive part of it. Now, in income tax, how your descriptive is going to look is something like this. Yes, you're going to receive 4 questions for your descriptives. Now, I think, let me do this. So you're going to receive 4 questions for your descriptive, people, in which question number 1 is going to be a compulsory question. You cannot avoid this question. This has to be mandatory attempted. Yes, your question number 2, question number 3, and question number 4, you have to choose any 2 out of 3. So 2 out of 3 will be chosen here so that you can answer the question accordingly. Yes. Now, if you notice the paper pattern itself, the first question is going to be for 15 marks, and the other questions are going to be for 10 marks each. Choose any 2 out of 3, and that is what you have to answer. What exactly are the topics which are being tested in this question is what is listed below for you. In question number 1, you will be asked a total income question. Now, obviously, I don't have to explain to you. Total income question would be in summary of all heads. Predominantly, this chapter will have PGBP inside it. A predominant question of PGBP will come, which will itself carry around 10 to 12 marks. Yes. Balance is what they'll have small hints and adjustments from HP, capital gains, IFOS, chapter 6A, maybe computation of tax, also using default tax hedging. Yes, those are the questions which you're expecting in question number 1. Question number 2 is going to carry one easy chapter and one difficult chapter for you. The easy chapter being your residential status and your difficult chapter being your TDS. Yes, your residential status will come for around 6 marks and your TDS will come for around 4 marks in question number 2. In question number 3 is where the whole game changes. Yes, your question number 3 is going to have a slight change of how it works. You're going to have a question which is going to be of 6 marks comprising of any one head of income. It can be either salaries or HP or PGBP or IFOS also. In your May 24, they had asked you a PGBP related question, whereas in September 24, they had asked you a salary related question. Yes, so there is no right answer as to what can happen. If you ask me my gut feeling, I am really hoping that they should ask you something from salaries this time. Yes, that is what my gut feeling would be. But again, I'm not putting any caveats to this. Please ensure that you cover all the heads of income. And for this, what do you have to prepare? All your book back questions where you have these individual questions of that head. Those are the questions you will have to prepare for getting the 6 mark question. The next 4 marks is the extremely important one, which is your capital gains. A short 4 mark question will come for capital gains perspective. That is what has been happening in ICA. So capital gains is a mandatory chapter for you to read and go because you're going to get a 4 marks. Question number 4 is where you can score your marks. This is the question which boosts your confidence in order to complete the syllabus faster. You're looking at the first chapter being your clubbing and set off, one of the easier chapters of the syllabus, but somehow, somewhere, people are still not comfortable with clubbing and therefore they make a lot of mistakes. More and more practice in these chapters are extremely important. Therefore, ICA itself has given some 20-25 questions in your study material which you need to go. So, first priority, clubbing and set off. Second will be your theory question. Yes, now this will have two subdivisions, theory 1 and theory 2. Any of the two can be answered. Yes, in that you can either get a return of income question, payment of tax question, or a basics of income tax question. This is what theory has been tested over the time. Yes, predominantly your theory comes from your return filing chapter. Sometimes they also ask you that one simple question of your basics of income tax about how the circular and notifications work, what happens in the previous year and assessment year being the same, and all those kind of questions. Yes, so this is what comes. If you understand this carefully, people, let's also understand what the order of answering the paper should be. First and outmost, start with your individual MCQs. Start with your individual MCQs. Now, while you may have individual MCQs coming for around 5 to 10, 5 to 6 marks, do not spend more than 5 minutes on this. If you know the answer, you attempt the MCQ. If you don't know the answer, you skip forward and you come back later. Yes, but do not spend more time on it. That every minute you save here is going to help you in your descriptive part. So always start with an individual MCQ first. Avoid case studies. Order number 2. My personal recommendation, and if you are comfortable with it, always start with question number 4. Always start with question number 4 because 99% of the cases, if people have prepared properly, your clubbing and set off and return filing is the easiest chapters which you will go and answer, and therefore question number 4 will be a boosting chapter for you where you can really score good marks and you can build that confidence with the examiner as well. Option number 3 would be to decide between you want to choose question number 2 or question number 3. And if you come and personally ask me, choice is very simple. If you know question number 3 ka A division, if you know question number 3 ka A division, question number 3 is what you're answering, because 99% of the cases students would have avoided TDS for their syllabus preparations. And therefore, if you can answer question number 3A, opt for question number 3A. Opt for question number 3A. If you think that question number 3A is becoming difficult for you, here is a chance for you to go back to question number 2, because RS and scope of total income is an easy scoring 6 marks. There is no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. So if you're able to get question number 3 properly, then you can fetch the whole 10 marks. But if you're not able to get question number 3 properly, might as well score at least 6 marks in your question number 2. Yes, that is what the strategy is, to score more marks in lesser time. So I would not give you an answer as to which one should you opt for. This all depends on how difficult the question comes. Personal preference, either choose question number 3 or choose question number 2. Or choose question number 2. Order of priority, choose question number 3 if you're able to answer everything off. If you're not able to answer, skip to question number 2, because 6 marks of residential status you will definitely get, no doubts about it. Yes. Then comes your order number 4, which is starting with your descriptive question, your question number 1. Yes, here is where you start attempting your question number 1. But let's be careful. When you're attempting question number 1, you will spend a lot of time completing this question, and therefore you have to be very mindful about this. Question number 1 preparation will happen in a way that you will start your stopwatch with you. Start your stopwatch with you. A 15-mark question, you have 18 minutes to answer. You have 18 minutes to answer. If you're able to answer that question within 18 minutes, you answer it to that extent and you go forward. Go forward. After 18 minutes, Rahul, let me take 2 more minutes, 3 more minutes, and this last leg I'll complete it off. No, please do not do that. Please do not do that. Never go back to the compulsory question beyond 18 minutes. Here is the space where ICA tricks you to spend more time and you lose marks. Not because you're not attempting question number one, it's because you're changing the time zone and you're taking away the time which you have for your other questions. Do not do that. Yes. So question number one, not to be taken more than 18 minutes. After you have completed your 18 minutes, or if you have completed well before 18 minutes, great for you. Here is when you come back to your case study questions. Here is where you come back to your case study MCQs and you start answering the MCQs. Again, a tip which I've told normally to most of my students, do not start case study from the top. Don't start reading the story and then do the MCQs. First do the MCQs, then start the story. First understand what exactly does the MCQ want from you. What exactly are the data points they want to check. Then go back to the MCQ and then start marking those things which are important, because ICL loves to give you irrelevant information. Yes, you need to first understand the requirement of the MCQ question and then go back to your case study to see which points you should focus and which points you can choose to let go. That will help you cover the MCQ case studies a lot faster than what you would normally spend time on. Yes, this is what my sequence will be, people. Now, let's understand 4 and 5 are interchangeable. 4 and 5 are interchangeable. Like I said, if you have not been able to complete the paper till now, focus first on case study MCQs and then come back to your written descriptive, because MCQs, no matter how hard you go wrong, you can at least score one or two MCQs right, rather than spending time on descriptive, which you may not end up getting any marks for. So focus on MCQs, because MCQs are a giveaway. It's a free giveaway. One small request which I make to everyone, and I tell this 101 times, but students choose to ignore it off, is that do not leave any MCQs. No matter how much time it takes, it's okay, but do not leave any MCQs, people. Don't spend more time also, but at the same time, don't leave it and go. Even if there is a last 5 minutes left for you and you're not able to go through the MCQs, it's okay. Just take a guess. You never know. Maybe one A or B or C which you guessed would have come out right. Luckily for your CA inter syllabus, there is no negative marks. And so it is important that you answer every MCQ. You never know how your luck may fetch you marks. Yes. So do not make mistakes on those. These are compulsory to be attended. These are compulsory to be attended. Do not make a mistake of not attending your MCQs. While ICA may come and tell your question number one of descriptive is compulsory, for me personally coming and saying MCQs are more compulsory. MCQs are more compulsory. Is this clear? Yes. This is what my request is on how you approach your paper and make it a lot more easier. But if you still feel there is any difficulty, you can always discuss it differently. Yes. My small request, if you have not attended any test papers till now, use this opportunity to spend one day attending one test paper, following the sequence, and see how much you score. See if you're able to score the better marks. If not, then that's when a discussion has to take place. Now, if you have understood how to approach a paper, let's take a step back. Let's speak about how do you approach this next 20 days. How do you approach this next 20 days? While you are also covering other subjects, you should also focus on DT to a certain extent so that you can remember things, especially for your attendance people, because since September has come in a little difficult, Jan expectations are also not very great. But that does not mean that you don't have an opportunity. For those who understand this carefully, September paper was one of the most difficult paper, but I say set a benchmark that none of the people failed in September paper. Yes, because the paper was so tough, ICA gave it to be lenient and therefore everyone scored marks in it. Everyone got a passing mark, no one was failed in the exam. Which is why I'm coming and telling you, it does not matter even if the paper comes tougher. You should have a smiling face that yes, the paper has come tough and therefore I know I'm going to pass. That is the kind of confidence you need to build on yourself. But those kind of confidence only happens with the right preparations. With the next 20 days, people, I have prepared a small tip study for you on understanding what you should be focusing on your attention in this next 20 days along with your other subjects. Yes. Now, again, while I have used ABC and everything, this is not technically an ABC analysis, because if you notice, as I discussed with you, some chapters have been ignored itself. There are some chapters which are part of syllabus, and I would still come and told don't read those chapters because those are not going to score you so much marks. It may come in MCQs, but you can always take a swing on it. These are my focus chapters, meaning these chapters bare minimum have to be done, prepared and gone. Done, prepared and gone. Now while I put ABC also, people understand even B and even C is important. These are all the chapters which you have to bare minimum complete and go. The only thing why I put ABC is that I put an order of priority. First complete A chapters, get that confidence, then move to B chapters, get the confidence, and then move to C chapters. And then move to C chapters. But preparation of everything is a must. Yes. What are the chapters to be focused on? From salaries perspective, people, I would like you to predominantly do all the topics. There is nothing which you can avoid in salaries. Everything has to be done. But focus more on amendments. Focus more on amendments. In the September exam, they've already tested you on RFA amendment. Yes, so this time expectation on leave encashment amendment is very critical. You may expect a question on leave encashment this time. If not leave encashment, RFA will again be tested. Yes, the reason is very simple. September exam mein RFA amendment was there, but somehow they made a mistake. The question was not worded very correctly, and so therefore they would like to correct their mistake once again. So RFA amendment is also critical for you. Please focus on these two predominantly. Other than that, I'm presuming everyone knows salary by now. There is nothing complicated about it. You just have to mark up things. So therefore, salary is one of the easier chapters. Focus on salaries predominantly. Second, and I don't have to tell you this, PGBP is critical. PGBP is critical for two reasons, people. PGBP is coming in your question number one descriptive for your 15 marks, so you therefore need it. And it also is coming in MCQs. It is also coming in MCQs. You cannot let go of PGBP just like that. You have to pay attention to PGBP, no doubts at all. Yes, some small tips and tricks you can use here and there. See how your attention works. If nothing is working out, look at the past exam questions and at least prepare that and go for exam. But PGBP is not a chapter to skip. No skipping of the chapter. Third chapter, and while other faculties may come and tell you that CG is to be treated as part number B, I say CG is part number A, a 4-mark question. And one thing I can assure you is that this attempt, capital gains, only immobile property related question will be tested. They will not test you anything else because immobile property has n number of amendments. Has n number of amendments, and therefore immobile property is what is predominantly expected to be tested in exam. Prepare a format sheet which you can come and say what is the format to be done for immobile property, and focus only on that format and go for exams. You will 99% get the marks out of it. For your reference, I put out the sections also so that you can understand this carefully. 47 will discuss about your cost of acquisition for your immovable property if the asset is purchased before 2001. 50C will speak about what is the SDV to be taken if at all you're selling the property for less than consideration value. Then you have your cost of acquisition, you have your cost of improvement. This has an amendment in the current year also, people, which speaks about interest on loan taken for HP properties. Yes, those interest on loan, if you have already claimed as reduction, not claimed as reduction, how do you treat it in capital gains, has an amendment in the current year. Pay attention to those. Then you have your 54, 54F and 54EC exemptions. 3 exemptions for capital gains. The other exemptions are not very critical. These 3 exemptions will short be tested in an exam question if you're getting an immovable property question. Then you have your advanced forfeiture, which is relating to your immovable property, a standard response which comes on that. Your unexhausted basic exemption limit. This is what is being tested multiple times, including in September exam as an MCQ question. Yes, the fact that if you have no basic exemption limit utilized, capital gains can be used for the purpose of your basic exemption limit to pay lower taxes is an important silent adjustment which ICA tests and tests. You need to pay attention to those. Need to pay attention to those. My gut feeling, 54 54F is what is extremely critical for your exam this time, because this has not been tested in September also. This has not been tested in September also. You have a very critical amendment of 10 crores purchase value for your immobile property residential house, and therefore I say I would love to test you that in this year's exam. You can expect a question in Jan 25. I'm giving away what is going to happen in exam itself, people, so do not make a mistake of letting it. Capital gains might look like a lengthy chapter and might look difficult, but you have to only focus on one topic, which is called immobile property. You do that and your life is already sorted. Yes, that is what my small request is. That is why I'm putting it in category A itself rather than putting it in category B or C, because people make a mistake of going through the other topics as well and waste time on those. Those are not being tested in exam. You can choose to let go. Focus on capital gains, immobile property part of it. Next one, and I don't have to tell you this itself, your clubbing and set off, because you know it is coming for question number 4. This is the question to be first answered, and therefore you need to build your grip on clubbing and set off no matter what happens. So clubbing and set off is a very important chapter from an exam perspective. If you come and ask me, it is enough if you do the ICA study material questions of all clubbing and set off. There are almost about 20-25 questions. Get those on track, plus your current year RTPs and MTPs. If you can just answer those, you will get strong grip on clubbing and set off. That is always required. From your chapter 6A perspective, people, some chapter 6A items, I know it's a very lengthy topic and therefore I'm not putting every burden on you. Based on my experience and expertise, I have seen chapter 6A happening, some important topics being very important. Some important topics being very important. One is your ATC, comes in your question number 1. Your ATC CD, your NPS scheme, your ATD, your chapter 1, your question number 1 question, ATE, ATG, ATJJA, extremely important if the question has DTR, default tax regime. The question has default tax regime. ATTT and TTB is again tested multiple times in your question number one, compulsory question. And the last thing, while it is given here, when I say ignore CG, I don't mean ignore CG. I mean that when you're doing chapter 60, you don't do chapter 60 on capital gains. You don't do chapter 60 on capital gains. This part of the question came for September MCQs, which people choose to miss out and they lost marks. And they lost marks. This is what I feel is the important sections from chapter 6A. If you have not gone through the chapter at all, then these are the chapters sections I would ask you to focus upon. If you've gone through the chapter and you're comfortable with every other section, good for you. Good for you. But from an exam perspective, please focus on this. Please focus on this. The next topic, and this may be something different from what your other faculties may have come and told you. My gut feeling this time 10AA is to be tested. My gut feeling this time is 10AA is to be tested. The reason is very simple. This is the last year for which you can claim a 100% reduction. From next year's, and as you move to May 25 and forward, you will now be able to claim only 50% of your export profit as reduction, and therefore 10AA is extremely critical in the current attempt. My gut feeling it will come in exam this time. Yes, so please pay attention to 10AA. Also, because this time 10AA has amendments also. This time 10AA has amendments also. A lot of amendments in 10AA, and therefore a very good question can be tested in 10AA for you to have your exams. Please pay attention to 10AA. Very important from your MCQ at least, if not for your compulsory question, but definitely in MCQ, very important question for your exam. Next, you have your return filing people. Again, I normally other faculties will put it in category B. I'm putting it in category A because, like I told you, question 4 part 2 is going to be a return filing question. Yes, so please pay focus on return filing chapter. Very easy questions will come from return filing. There is no rocket science in the chapter itself. Very easy questions will come. You just have to prepare it properly. And so please focus on return filing people. You can definitely score marks. And the last, but the most important thing, one cannot avoid it, is your default tax regime. Is your default tax regime, especially because for your attempt, default tax regime has multiple amendments. Multiple. Some amendments are focused on here, which you have to pay attention to, and these are, I'm telling you, because these are silent adjustments. Most of the people choose to miss it out and they don't write it for exam. Here is where ICA plays a challenge and everything goes south. Yes, focus on these items, people. First is your amendment of the current year, which talks about marginal rebate. Yes, if you are going to have an income slightly more than 7 lakh rupees, you'll be eligible to claim a marginal rebate also. That is a very important amendment in the current year. Please pay attention to this. It's very good questions can be prepared from a case study based model, or it can be done from an MCQ perspective. So therefore, pay attention to those. Second is your HP losses. Yes, ICI in the September exam has suddenly taken a twist. While I'll be discussing this in a separate video with you for amendment chapters, ICI has taken a twist where they've come and confirmed saying that for default tax regime, HP losses can no more be carried forward. Can no more be carried forward. ICI has tested this in September exam, but people did not pay much attention to it. So chances that ICI will test it in May exam also is very critical. Sorry, in January exam is also possible. So please pay attention to that also. If you have not gone through the topic and what you don't understand what it is, don't worry. In our next few days, you'll have another video from my side discussing about all these amendments. Third thing is your DTR if the return is filed late. This is something which ICI suddenly took a twist in the current year. Again, I'll be discussing about this when we do the amendment topic. But what ICI has come and made an assumption is that if you don't file your returns on time, if you don't file your returns on time, you cannot opt for alternate tax regime. You can only opt for default tax regime. You can only opt for default tax regime. And so a lot of questions in September exam, they purposely gave you a fact that the person has filed the return late. Now, people assume that because the return is filed late, they assume for 234F, they assume for 234A, they assume for heading C not being eligible and everything. But what they forgot to realize is that it does not matter because the person itself is going for default tax regime. Yes, when the person is when the person has been forced into default tax regime, alternate rules do not even apply. Alternate rules not even apply. So this is something which ICI has been testing upon in September exam, and expectations to test in January is also high. Is also high. Three important topics for you to read from default tax regime, other than obviously people remembering all those items which are not being eligible in default tax regime and all. No doubts about that. That has to be done. But these three to be paid attention. And I'm asking you to do that because these three are the ones you choose to ignore off because you don't pay attention to it. So this time pay attention to it. Once you're done with this category A people, you're moving on to category number B to discuss about what you call as your HP. Very simple topic, but sometimes it comes in exam for your compulsory question number 1, or if you're lucky in question number 3 also. Yes, a very simple chapter called HP, nothing complicated about this chapter. You can easily finish this off in a matter of 1.5 hours. So pay focus on that HP chapter and you should score your marks. IFOS people for two reasons. One is that IFOS comes in question number 1, while not many things are tested in question number 1. But off late, what ICI is doing is ICI is testing IFOS as a part of your clubbing and set off chapter. Yes. So when you do clubbing and set off question, they will also imbibe something of IFOS, something like interest on enhanced compensation, post office savings, your premium on issue of shares. All those things are now being added into your IFOS clumping and set of question, and therefore IFOS is important to that extent. Let me give you an idea of what kind of theory questions ICA can expect. There is very limited kind of theory which ICA has in your study material. Therefore, I've already listed down the theory items which you need to pay for. Yes, first is your previous year and assessment year being the same. For those who have gone through my class, we would have discussed about a Vijay Mallya example. This is the one theory question which ICA has tested in May 25. September it was not tested. So again, if they want to check, they can check it in Jan 25. Yes, sorry, May 24, September 24, so Jan 25. Second, who and all can file a return? People, the whole topic of 139.1, where they will come and say who and all can file a return based on the total income statement and based on some criteria to be fulfilled of expenditure, electricity expenditure, foreign expenditures, and all those things. That is the next question. ICA has been testing this multiple times, so please pay attention to this. PAN and Aadhaar is important for the current year because this has an amendment. This has an amendment. Here's a hint for you people. ICA has not tested this in September exam, but the recent mock test paper number 2, which was released by ICA for Jan paper, the recent mock test paper number 2, ICA has released something for Jan paper and they put this question out. They put this question out where they came and said, if you don't link your PAN with other, what are the consequences? A very beautiful question, and my gut feeling is if it has come in MTPs, don't have the assumption that it did not come in Jan. Sometimes those are where they play psychology. That question may come up in Jan. Very good question because it's an amendment question. It is not important for next year, so therefore this is the only year for them to test. Focus on that question. Next, how to do your advanced tax computation, your 201 money interest. There is only one question relating to 201 money in your whole subject study material people. That is the one question which ICA has tested multiple times if they have asked it. They've asked it. The numbers also do not change. So we just have to look at that question. In fact, if you want, you can mug up the number and go. That is the number which is going to come for exam also. So pay attention to that also. And the final is, how do you file revised returns? Who and all can file revised returns? When can you file revised returns? For what and all can you file revised returns? These are the theory questions which I feel is sufficient if you cover for your exams and go. Any of these questions will come. Again, like I told you for 4B, 2 questions will be given, 2 theory questions will be given, and you can choose any one of the 2 theory questions. One of these is what you're expecting. One of these is what you're expecting. Even if you don't know the answer to the second or question, you can still answer one of these and you still get your 4 marks. A simple, straightforward 4 marks. No one can lose marks here. You can easily score those 4 marks. So please pay attention to this. Please pay attention to this. Once you are done with all those things, people, is the last focus tips which I have, the chapters of AMT. The chapter of AMT. The reason I'm putting AMT is only for the fact that I am expecting 10 AA to come for exam. Because I'm expecting 10 AA to come for exam, if ICA wants, ICA can choose to have your compulsory question number 1 very small by introducing AMT provisions into it. By introducing AMT provisions into it so that they pay less attention to the income but they pay more attention to the tax payables. Yes, so therefore I'm putting AMT also here people. Again, only putting it because 10 AA is there in the syllabus. Other than that, I would have not expected AMT to be part of your important topics, but I am doing it for this attempt because I think this is important. Second is your TDS and TCS. No doubts about it, people, that you're going to get 4 marks from this in exam. You are going to get 4 marks from this in exam, but the problem with this chapter is that it's very lengthy. It's very detailed. It has a lot of tax rates. It has a lot of rules. It has a lot of regulations, and therefore it complicates life. I do not expect you to spend more time on it. Yes, it's a chapter which you take a chance with. You don't have an option because you cannot pay attention to this chapter. Unfortunately, while I would have normally come and told you what sections to be focused from a TDS perspective, there was only one amendment in the current year relating to your online winnings, and ICA has already tested it in September. So the chances of that coming once again in January is close to 0. With that happening, you don't have any kind of sections which I can come and tell you that these sections are to be paid attention to. Every other section now becomes important for exam, and therefore nothing is created important. Yes, I am still putting it as in a focus tip number 3 because it's a chapter for you to do if you want to score the 4 marks. But if you're not able to score, don't worry. If you're able to properly cover the syllabus in such an extent that question number 4 and question number 3 can be answered by you, you don't even have to look at question number 2. You don't even have to look at question number 2. That is what my small request would be. Yes. Now, one chapter which I probably have missed out here and I have not added it because I assume you would already know and you don't have to worry about is your residential status and scope of total income. Is your residential status and scope of total income. It's a chapter because again it gets 6 marks, but this chapter will only have relevance if you are going to answer TDS. If you're not going to answer TDS, this chapter has no relevance. So therefore, I did not first put it, but I'm putting it now in category number 8 because it's an easy topic. Assuming you are not able to answer anything in question number 3, RS should be definitely a question you should be able to answer. That's one of the questions which scores you that marks which you need for your theory. Yes, and 6 marks is a giveaway mark in this chapter, and therefore you definitely have to pay attention to this chapter as well. RS and scope of total income, an important chapter for you. Yes, this is what some small tips from my side, people. Now, if you do attend, understand this carefully, you will see some chapters I have itself told it's not coming for syllabus. I have not spoken about agriculture income, unexplained income, all those kind of small things which are there, capital gains, predominant other items and all. I have not discussed about those things because I have a gut feeling this is not critical for your exams. I say has a lot of amendments and all to test for your exams, and I say I will pay attention to those. So therefore, this is not very critical for your exams. If you have anyway completed a syllabus and want to revise it, please be my guest and do that. That's a very good thing, because if at all I say it was unexpected, you will have to answer something. But this is for all my students who are right now not in a position to complete the syllabus and are panicking because they have other subjects also to focus on. If you have such a scenario coming forward to you, you can use this small tip for you to focus on the chapters which can score you that exemption which you need in your direct tax, and treat as a set off for your indirect tax plus your group number one to help you clear your exams. That is what this intention is. It is no way coming and telling that you should stop reading other chapters and you should do only these chapters. This is for me to come and tell you that if you have missed out something till now, if it is a part of this list, read it. Read it. Do not miss out on any chapter given here, because that would cost you marks. Yes, there's a difference between letting go of a chapter and letting go of a chapter strategically. Here is a case where I'm letting go of some chapters strategically because that is not critical for your exams. That is all that I wanted to tell in today's video, people. I will be coming back very soon with you to discuss on the amendments which you have to focus on your exams, because there are some amendments and there are some clarifications from ICAI. Both are important for your exam because ICAI is testing it multiple times. Give me some days and we'll be discussing about this. Meanwhile, I would request everyone to do these chapters and pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. If you have any doubts, you can always feel free to drop a comment here, or you can reach out to me personally on my WhatsApp number, which is already available in your notes. Feel free to reach out to me at any point of time and I'll be happy to support in however I can. If you need some question papers for you to solve, if you have other times, please do reach out to me. I have some question papers also beautifully designed for you to answer all these chapters. I can do that also with you, but again, it's very close to your exams, therefore I would not encourage that at this point of time. Only reach out to me if you feel like, yes, you are done with other subjects and you really want to practice this chapter. Yes, that is all I wanted to tell for today, people. I will see you soon with another video. Until then, take care. Bye bye.